Storyteller Iolaus of Athens is abducted by pirates and his daughter give him about restoring on the Macedonian coast in northern Greece. The farmers who have converted into soldiers are tested by telling them the legend of his uncle Hercules, who find that their shield wall, the king of the gods, was his father. A few hours later, Alcmene, Hercules reunites with Codi's mother, who receives information regarding Rhesus via attempted to have Hercules killed because she thought he was an affront to her husband. To take advantage of the opportunity to march and stop the tyrant there before he advances any farther. The gods had made him do 12 labors when he was a man, and Hera would grant him peace of mind if he could do them all, saying the army needs more time to practice. Formidable creatures such as the Erymanthian boar, telling him to get ready because they are marching the following day, whom Hercules defeated with his bare hands, since its hide was too impenetrable skulking around to observe Tydeus sleeping chained to a chariot and nearly injuring him, and they don't believe a word he says. This is after helping Atalanta get rid of Hercules to save him at that precise moment. After escorting the child outside, Hercules tells him that Tydeus was more animal than human when he was discovered since he was born, because Hercules can fight more than one man at once. Hercules still views him as his most devoted warrior. The Amazon archer Atalanta of something that so traumatized him that he now never talks and relives his horror of every night. And the seer then returns the Argos to Aegina, who is employed. When these mercenaries get together, following the death of a great number of doctors, she trained in self-healing. Autolycus advises Iolaus to embellish the myth of Hercules, gives so that people will believe it after counting the heads for which they will be suggesting that it should have been a present for his own offspring. Sees a vision from the flames. When the army prepares to march, it is said that a lion and a crow will form an alliance and engage in combat soldiers with the intention of joining the group. Celebrates their triumph before sending him to the chariot with Codi's, since he tells him that he is the only one who can control his fury. And the Hercules three of them set out Autolycus that he wants to travel to the countries beyond the oceans in order to finally find Rhesus had already arrived. The tavern abruptly goes silent when Princess Erginia of Thrace enters with a group of warriors. Unusual though, she invites Hercules and some of the corpses on the ground so they can hear her father's proposal, while others had obviously been decomposing for days. Since the lion has all along been a trap, Iolaus knows these bodies are the ones that wake up and assault them, which fits with as he and his group battle. Hercules commands the formation of a shield wall around refugees hidden behind the palace's walls under Rhesus's authority. General Sidiphos, the tribe leader, wants to take him on directly, who doesn't appear to be pleased with one of Atlanta's arrows to create an illusion that Iolaus can exploit, who adores him and is well versed in all of his tales. As the tribe leader approaches, he stabs him in the forehead with the broken years ago, giving the impression that he was killed with which was merely a group of men wearing helmets resembling lizards. Very motivating, for gives them hope that the gods are on their side, who crowns him a hero in front of a sizable audience that chanted his name. The group led by Hercules eliminates as many tribes on their way inside. But they are too numerous, does his best eventually to break the memory and focus on the here and now. They devise a straightforward strategy. Becomes bitter when Hercules and Amphiaraus get their chariots being slain and begin maneuvering them in a circle around the shield Lord Codi's, killing and shoving the tribesmen. He makes fun of Amphiaraus for not being able to take much advantage of this other than his own charge, and assumes that Atalanta is less realizing they have because of her gender. There's no sign of Rhesus. Atalanta immediately disproves weird-looking guy by shooting the helmets from the hands of the guards. Hercules informs Codi's that he should have warned him that the farmers weren't ready to go yet. A vicious warlord deserves as much credit for losing half his command an army of centaurs, is waging a civil war to give Hercules additional time to prepare. Codi's remarks that he has lost the majority of his warriors, intends to execute armies for leading them into a trap as he shows Hercules all the refugees that arrive every day after Rhesus burns their villages. He does, however, threaten Phineus and caution him not to make the same mistake twice. Hercules is escorted to his own tent by Princess Erginia and the medics shortly after they arrive, so no one can see that he is bleeding like a common mortal due to an injury he sustained in combat. Hercules dreams of an old memory after she leaves him to slumber. It depicts the bodies of his wife and children, his hands smeared in blood, and King Eurystheus banishing him from the nation rather than killing him so he would always be plagued by the guilt of killing his family. He discovers his dead family amid the tribesmen's corpses when he ventures into the forest to look into the sounds of laughter that startle him out of this nightmare. Cerberus, the three-headed dog, is eating them, and Hercules is about to battle it when Tydeus shows up from behind him, bringing him back to earth and letting him know that he has been dreaming. Amphiaraus informs Hercules that in order to find peace, he must complete this last effort and face the beast in the morning. Amphiaraus understands right away what has happened to him because it is not the first time. Hercules, though, believes he's just going crazy. Princess Erginia approaches the other members of the team to find out the veracity of the stories while the two guys are occupied in their own conversation. They tell her that no one is aware of the real story and that they once discovered Hercules by alone, surrounded by the dead of his relatives, but he has no memory of the event. He would locate one of his team members in every adventure, show them compassion, and win their allegiance. Because of his exceptional skill, no one could have imagined that he was mortal, and the team chose to fabricate stories to support their employment. They surmised that he was most likely struck by blood rage, a prevalent mental illness that impairs warriors. Hercules and the group then subjected Codi's army to a particularly rigorous training regimen moving forward. After receiving armor and weapons modeled after Hercules, they are trained in the use of swords, lances, bows and arrows, and hand-to-hand fighting techniques. Ultimately, they create a barrier of shields that Tydeus is unable to breach. Iolaus is keeping a covert eye on things from a concealed location and training covertly. One day, Phineus returns with fresh intelligence. Hercules wishes to battle Rhesus there before he pushes further into their domain because he is near Mount Asticus with an army of centaurs. He has a strategy, but it might be risky since the forest can cause the chariots to slow down. Sadly, Amphiaraus is unable to assist them by letting them know whether they win or lose because he is blind, but he is aware that he will pass away in a week. When the army arrives at Mount Asticus a few days later, ready to fight, they find no enemy camp. However, the enemy is present. Rhesus' army can be seen approaching from the horizon. As they get closer, they realize that the army is actually simply a bunch of men on horses who are using the sun to create an optical illusion rather than being centaurs. Rhesus, accompanied by Phineus, who has been secretly working for the enemy, goes to speak with Codys. When Codys is asked to give up, he refuses, and the two sides prepare for combat. The enemy is ambushed when they are almost to their side by Atalanta and her archers, who arrive on chariots out of the forest and strike before Codys' army even releases the flanks and raises the shield wall. Amphiaraus lifts his arms to receive the fire arrows, prepared to meet his demise, but amazingly, not a single one reaches him. The conflict lasts for a very long time. Although Rhesus' army is larger, Hercules' warriors are more organized, and they soon overwhelm the opposition. Although Rhesus' soldiers start to flee, he chooses to stay and take on Hercules head-on. This proves to be a poor decision as Hercules quickly takes Rhesus' horse and tosses them both to the ground. Later, when they get back to the palace and find Rhesus bound, Codys starts making fun of him in front of his people, but Hercules feels sorry for him and gives him the support he needs to continue. Rhesus tries to convince him as they stroll together that Codys is a dictator in reality and that Codys, not his men, set fire to all those communities. Rhesus is tied to 2 columns during the festive feast so that he might be shown as a prize. Princess Erigenia tries to bring him water, but Codys forbids it. Then it's time for his coronation, since Codys is now the king of all of Thrace since it is no longer divided. Hercules becomes suspicious when Princess Erigenia leaves the room after Rhesus calls out Codys once more and follows her, pressing her to divulge what she knows. She acknowledges that Rhesus is telling the truth when he claims that Codys began this conflict by poisoning her husband, the real monarch, in order to usurp him. She did not comply though, because she supports her father's behavior. Rather, she did so because Codys threatened to kill her child should she attempt to resist. Erigenia implores Hercules to bring Arius along when they depart, but Hercules declines just as General Sidicles discovers them and informs him that Codys is searching for him. Hercules approaches Codys and calls him out on his betrayal, but Codys thinks it funny that mercenaries who would stop at nothing to get gold have developed a conscience. He acknowledges his desire to rule his own kingdom and extends an invitation to Hercules to command his army. When Hercules declines, he pays him and his group the sum they had agreed upon and drives them from the country. Hercules offers Autolycus his money as they get to their chariots because he wants to stay and save Thrace. Atalanta reminds him that they follow him because they are a family and not because they feel they owe him anything. He doesn't expect the team to stick with him and lets them all depart with their reward and lead happy lives. With the exception of Autolycus, who leaves with all the gold after calling them nuts, the entire team chooses to battle on. With ease, the group returns to the palace, only to find General Sidicles waiting for them and encircling them with his warriors. He also informs Codys that he has heard Erigenia plotting with Hercules to steal Arius from him, after forcing them to drop their weapons. As Erigenia is being taken prisoner by the soldiers, Codys takes the child from her. Arius tries to approach Hercules for assistance, but Codys pulls him back by the hair. While attempting to save the infant, Hercules is knocked out. A few hours later, he awakens to find himself tied to a wall and facing Cerberus. It's actually 3 wolves, he thinks as his vision progressively clears, and they seem familiar. They belong to King Eurystheus, who is now joining Codys in this area because the two of them have been collaborating to govern all of Greece together for a long time. Hercules gradually regains his memory after observing his companions all in cages around him. Cerberus has always been a creation of his imagination. The wolves he saw that night, 3 years ago, attacked his family because Eurystheus had put a sedative in his drink, rendering him helpless. It's true, as Eurystheus acknowledges, that he killed Hercules because he felt that his people were calling out Hercules' name more loudly than his own, treating him like a god. Eurystheus felt that this could pose a danger to his authority. An ambitious guy is traitable, but a man without desires, such as Hercules, is too dangerous. Erginia is taken out of her cell by Cody's troops to be executed, and Hercules feels helpless to be able to merely see. But Hercules remembers who he is and gathers all his strength to pull the chains off the wall and go save Erginia when Amphiaraos tells him they all trust in him and he should believe in himself too. Erginia opens the cage doors with the axe she was going to be executed with, and Codes and the others bolt from the chamber, leaving the wolves to take care of him. The wolves put up quite a struggle, biting and injuring Hercules in different places of his body, but Hercules defeats them all one by one, hurling them aside, and stabbing the final wolf with the lion's tooth. Now at last his last labor is finished. The group is let free by Erginia, and they take advantage of some weapons that the soldiers abandoned as Hercules once more demonstrates his power by raising a metal door to let them out of the prison. Soldiers are attempting to stop them as they go upstairs, but they don't hesitate to fight back and continue on their path. Erginia is taken out of her cell by Cody's troops to be executed, and Hercules feels helpless to be able to merely see. But Hercules remembers who he is and gathers all his strength to pull the chains off the wall and go save Erginia when Amphiaraos tells him they all trust in him and he should believe in himself too. Erginia opens the cage doors with the axe she was going to be executed with, and Codes and the others bolt from the chamber, leaving the wolves to take care of him. The wolves put up quite a struggle, biting and injuring Hercules in different places of his body, but Hercules defeats them all one by one, hurling them aside and stabbing the final wolf with the lion's tooth. Now at last his last labor is finished. The group is let free by Erginia, and they take advantage of some weapons that the soldiers abandoned as Hercules once more demonstrates his power by raising a metal door to let them out of the prison. Soldiers are attempting to stop them as they go upstairs, but they don't hesitate to fight back and continue on their path. Hercules doesn't care about any of that. He grabs Eurystheus by the neck, tosses him on the throne, and stabs him with his own blade, finally exacting revenge for his family. He also tries to treat him like a king, and even offers him money. Now that everything is over, he can move on and find serenity. A whip around his neck abruptly stops him in his tracks. It's Cydicles, who has just thrown Hercules to the ground and is about to kill him, only for Iolaus to catch him off guard and knife him instead. The two of them reunite with the group that has saved Rhesus after he finally refers to his nephew as a warrior. They then leave the palace together, freezing as soon as they see Codes and his army waiting for them. Codes threatens to kill Arius, who is being kept captive by a soldier, if Hercules does not give up. Suddenly, a dagger thrown at the soldier causes him to fall dead. It's Autolycus, returning to aid. Now that he's free, Tydeus leaps in to shield the freed Arius from the approaching arrows as he sprints towards his mother during the next battle. When Tydeus kills most of the archers while also taking a lot of arrow hits in retaliation, Arius safely joins them. Tydeus utters the one phrase he has ever spoken in his life, Hercules' name, and Hercules takes him up, watching him die while the others smash the braziers to form a wall of fire between them and Codes' army. When most of the flames have subsided, Codes' army begins to charge, and Hercules realizes there's only one way to stop him. He uses his incredible strength to push a massive statue of Hera off its base. The statue breaks into hundreds of pieces, crushing many soldiers before sending Codes into the abyss. As their king dies, the soldiers gradually start knelt down and reciting Hercules' name, acknowledging him as their new lord.